Ben stood at the center of the Velari capital square, staring at the mess on the ground. He had just knocked over a food stall while trying to avoid a small running creature. Colorful fruits and soft, glowing snacks rolled across the smooth silver floor. The Velari round and paused. A few looked shocked, others just blinked slowly. "I'm really sorry," Ben said, raising both hands. "That was my fault." He bent down quickly and started picking up the fallen items. The Velari shopkeeper didn't speak but simply tilted his head. Ben offered a few of the clean fruits back and gave an awkward smile. A tall alien woman with soft green markings on her cheeks watched from a distance. Her name was Selah. She was quiet, curious, and worked with the city's diplomatic office. She had read about humans for months before they arrived. She wanted to understand them better than anyone else. And today, she had witnessed something strange. "He said sorry," Selah whispered to herself. He looked down, used his hands, showed his neck, very emotional. Later that day, she opened an old human behavior file saved in the Central Learning Library. The file was written by a machine translator and hadn't been updated in many years. It explained that humans had many ways to say sorry through words, actions, or gifts. But one line stood out. Humans often remove clothing items in deep shame or apology. Showing openness and humility, Selah blinked at the screen. She read it again. It looked official. The translator had added no warnings or notes. To her, it made perfect sense. She had just seen the human bend down, speak softly, and use strange hand movements. Maybe he had been about to remove something before others interrupted. "I will learn it," Selah said quietly. "I must show that I understand humans." The next day, Ben walked through the same square. He had slept poorly. Still embarrassed about the accident, he held a gift fruit in a small bag. He wanted to offer it to the stall owner as a better apology. As he approached, he saw Selah standing nearby. He gave a small wave. "Hi, sorry again for yesterday." "You apologized," Selah said softly. "May I respond now?" Ben paused. Sure." To his surprise, Selah gently slipped off her light outer jacket and folded it with care. She then placed it over her arm and gave a short nod. Ben stared at her. "What was that?" "You said sorry. I give response in your custom." Ben looked around. A few Velari passing by nodded in approval, as if they understood the act. Ben scratched the back of his head, unsure of what just happened. "Thanks, I guess," he mumbled. That evening, Ben sat on his small sleeping cot in the Velari guest quarters. He stared at his translator AI screen. Is there a human custom about taking off clothes when apologizing? He asked. The eye paused. Not as a standard practice. Some emotional moments may involve gestures with clothing, but nothing formal. "Well, she just did that after I said sorry. Possibly a misunderstanding of symbolic behavior." Ben leaned back. "Yeah, or maybe she just really misunderstood something." Meanwhile, Selah sat with a few Velari friends, telling them about her new lesson. She explained that humans value deep, visual signs of apology. One friend nodded and said they must be brave to show such vulnerability. Another added, perhaps that is how they share emotion. They all agreed that Selah was doing well in studying human behavior. Selah felt proud. She had made progress. She believed her actions helped build trust between their people. The next day, Selah saw Ben again at the Learning Dome. He was reading a book on Velari traditions. She waved, and he waved back, trying not to be awkward. "Hello, Ben," Selah said. "I study more human rituals now." "Oh?" he asked carefully. "Yes. The apology is my favorite." Ben gave a polite smile but said nothing more. As the days went on, Ben noticed something strange. A few other Velari started mimicking Selah. If a human visitor said sorry, a Velari might take off a scarf, a small hat, or a sleeve covering. The humans were too polite to ask questions. They assumed it was a Velari tradition. Ben, on the other hand, started getting worried. "This is spreading," he told the translator AI, "likely caused by mistranslation or cultural confusion." The AI replied, "Yeah, and I'm at the center of it." He knew he needed to find a way to fix it. before the next big human Villari event, but Sayla, still proud of her knowledge, had already planned to present her understanding of human apology rituals. At the upcoming Cultural Day. Ben sighed. This is going to be a mess. Ben walked quickly through the learning dome, carrying a tablet full of notes. His face showed worry. He had just seen another Villari elder remove his outer robe. After a human visitor apologized for arriving late, it was spreading faster than he expected. He needed to stop it. But how? In the center of the dome, Sayla stood near a large holographic board. She was preparing slides titled Understanding Human Emotion, Apology in Honor Rituals. Ben's eyes widened when he saw it. Oh no, he muttered. She's making it official. He walked over and tried to sound calm. Hey Sayla, working on something? Sayla looked up and smiled. Yes, Ben. The council asked me to explain human traditions during the cultural day tomorrow. I chose the apology ritual. Ben swallowed. About that, I think there's a big mistake. Humans don't actually remove clothes when apologizing. Sayla tilted her head. But you did say sorry, and the file in our library said it clearly. You looked sad, and the file said humans use clothing to show emotion. Ben shook his head. I was just being polite. The file must be wrong. Humans apologize with words, tone, maybe gifts, not by taking clothes off. Sayla looked confused. But I already taught others. The council approved. My idea. Ben rubbed his forehead. Then I need to talk to the council too. Before the whole city starts thinking humans say sorry by undressing. Sayla frowned, unsure what to feel. She had tried so hard to understand humans. She thought Ben would be proud of her. Ben saw the disappointment on her face and softened. His voice, I know you meant well, and I'm thankful you care. But that file gave you the wrong idea. I just don't want you to be embarrassed in front of the council. Sayla didn't reply right away. She looked down at her tablet and quietly said, But if I cancel now, they may think I didn't do enough research. Then let's fix it together, Ben said. We'll make a better presentation. We'll explain real human apology customs, and we'll even add a part about how misunderstandings happen. Sayla finally looked at him again and gave a small nod. You would help me? Of course, Ben said. That's what friends do. That night, Ben and Sayla worked side by side in the quiet dome. Ben showed real human apology examples, handshakes, writing letters, offering food. He even acted out a few polite scenes, making Sayla laugh. She found his expression strange but warm. They titled the new presentation How Humans Say Sorry, Truth Beyond the Files. Sayla added a line at the beginning. This is based on real human knowledge, not on old, mistranslated records. The next day, the cultural day began. Villari and humans gathered in a large open hall. Colorful lights glowed from the ceiling, and soft music played in the background. Booths showed foods, clothes, and tools from both worlds. Ben watched nervously as Sayla stepped on stage. She looked calm, holding her tablet with care. Behind her, the large screen showed the title slide. A few Villari in the crowd whispered, Is this about the clothing apology? Sayla took a breath and began. Greetings, friends, she said. Today, I wish to speak about a mistake. The crowd fell silent. When the human named Ben first arrived, she continued, I wanted to understand him. I watched him say sorry, and I read an old file that said humans remove clothing to show deep apology. I followed this and taught others. Ben glanced around. Some Villari nodded in agreement. They had seen or done the same. But that was wrong. Sayla said gently, the file was not complete. It confused a movie scene with real behavior. Ben helped me learn the truth. She showed short clips of real human apologies, gifts, kind words, peaceful gestures. The audience listened carefully. Apologies, Sayla said, do not need to be dramatic. They must be honest. When she finished, the crowd clapped softly. A few Villari looked surprised. One elder raised a hand and said, Then why did so many of us believe the file? Ben stepped forward and answered, Because you trusted it, and trust is a good thing. But sometimes, even trusted things can be wrong. And that's why we talk, learn, and fix things together. Many nodded in agreement. The elders smiled. Then today, we fixed something. After the presentation, a group of young Velari approached Selah. One said, "We like the truth better. It felt real." Selah smiled, proud but a little embarrassed. "Thank you." Ben stood beside her and whispered, "You did great." She looked at him and said, "I thought I was being respectful. I wanted to show I understood your people." "And you did," Ben replied. "Just not in the way you expected." They both laughed. The misunderstanding was finally ending, but something new was beginning between Ben and Selah. Something built not on mistakes, but on understanding. After the Cultural Day presentation, Ben and Selah Beck, aim well known among both humans and Velari, many came to them with questions. Some Velari asked about other human customs, and some humans asked how to avoid confusing alien traditions. Ben didn't expect it, but people started calling him Ambassador of Apologies, which always made him laugh. Selah, on the other hand, took everything very seriously. She started keeping a notebook with titles like Real Human Greetings, Safe Ways to Express Emotion, and Do Not Trust Old Translator Files. She wanted to make sure no more mistakes like the clothing apology happened again. One afternoon, Ben sat on a bench near the glowing flower garden inside the Learning Dome. He was reading a small Velari storybook about their ancient space travels. Selah joined him, carrying her notebook into fruit drinks. "Here," she said, handing one to him. "Thanks," Ben replied with a smile. "What's today's lesson?" Selah opened her notebook. "I found something new. Apparently, humans sometimes bow their heads to show respect." "Yep," Ben nodded, "but only in some places. Sometimes it's just a polite nod, so not always a deep bow. No, that might look too formal or even strange if done wrong." Selah wrote it down carefully, then leaned back and looked at her. "You really like learning about humans, huh?" She nodded. "Your culture is full of feeling, not like numbers and logic. It's soft, but strong." Ben chuckled. "I never thought of it that way." They sat in silence for a moment. Nearby, some young Velari played a slow game that involved glowing stones in a quiet rhythm. The warm light from the domed ceiling made everything feel peaceful. "Selah," Ben said, breaking the silence, "have you ever been to Earth?" She shook her head. "Never. But I want to. One wished to see real humans where they belong." "Maybe one day," he said. "I'll show you how we actually apologize. I promise no one will take off their clothes." She laughed softly. "That is good." Later that week, the Human Embassy invited both Ben and Selah to speak at a cross-cultural workshop. They were asked to help design a new guidebook for future exchanges between humans and Velari. The title was simple: Know Each Other Well. Ben was surprised by the offer. "I just came here to study language," he said to the human diplomat. "Now I'm writing rules based on real experience," the diplomat replied. "You turned a funny accident into a learning moment." Selah was excited. She made charts, diagrams, and even drew pictures of wrong versus right gestures. Ben helped by checking human examples, making sure they were correct this time. During one meeting, Selah said, "We should make the guidebook funny too, so people enjoy reading it." Ben agreed. "Yeah, if it's boring, no one will read it. Let's keep it honest and light." They added a small cartoon of a Velari removing her jacket with the caption, "Do not do this unless it's hot weather or laundry day." The room laughed. The moment showed how far they had come. As days passed, Ben and Selah started spending more time together, even outside their work. Sometimes they visited the market together. Ben tried new Velari foods, some of which buzzed lightly on the tongue. Selah asked more questions about Earth animals, especially the dog, which she found funny and strange. "It lives in your house," she asked. Double quotes. "Yep, it barks, runs, and sometimes sits on your foot. Does it remove clothing when it feels sorry?" Ben laughed so hard he nearly dropped his drink. "No, dogs just look sad and wag their tails." Selah smiled, happy to make him laugh. One evening, Ben found Selah sitting alone near the crystal pond that glowed with soft blue light. She was holding her old tablet. The same one that had the mistranslated file. What are you doing? Ben asked, deleting the file. She said, I reported it already, but I want it gone from my records. Good idea. She looked at the screen one last time, then tapped delete. The file vanished. It was my first mistake, she said, but also my first real lesson. We all mess up, Ben said. What matters is what we do after. Sayla looked at him, her green-marked face calm and thoughtful. I'm glad it was with you. If it had been anyone else, maybe they would have laughed or gotten angry. Ben shrugged. I probably would have messed up too if I went to your world without learning enough. We're still learning, she said. They sat there as night. Lights began to shimmer above the dome, creating a view like stars in that quiet moment. They didn't need to speak. They both felt at the strange path that brought them together, starting with a simple mistake, now growing into something meaningful. A week after the cultural event, things were going well for Ben and Sayla. Their new guidebook draft had been sent to both human and Velari councils. Many people were reading it, laughing at the jokes, and learning useful things. Ben was finally feeling proud of the strange journey that had started with a simple misunderstanding. But peace didn't last long. A message came from the Velari Central Hall. A high-ranking leader named Orcs had returned from a long trip across the outer colonies. He was not pleased with the recent changes. Orcs was strict, serious, and didn't like when things strayed from tradition, I heard. Orcs said during a council meeting that we are now being taught by a human about our own behavior. Is that correct? The room grew quiet. Saela stood up. Not taught, Leader Orcs. We are learning together. The misunderstanding was ours, and we corrected it with honesty. Orcs narrowed his eyes. So now we believe whatever the humans say. Ben sat beside Sayla, but stayed quiet. He had been warned not to speak unless asked. Orcs turned to him. You human, do you think we are foolish for believing the file? Ben stood up slowly. No, sir. I think it shows you care about understanding others. That's not foolish at all. Some council members nodded, but Orcs wasn't satisfied. When cultures mix, Orcs said, mistakes happen. But allowing one mistake to become public laughter, making jokes about our error. He held up a copy of the guidebook and showed the cartoon of the clothing joke. Is this respect? Sayla took a step forward. That cartoon is there to remind others not to repeat the mistake. It's not meant to shame anyone. Still, Orcs said, it weakens our image. Outsiders will laugh at us, or, Ben said gently, they'll admire your honesty. Not many leaders would admit mistakes and fix them so openly. Orcs stared at him for a moment but said nothing. More. The meeting ended with no decision. Outside the hall, Sayla looked troubled. He may ask to remove the guidebook. But why? Ben asked. We fixed the problem. We helped people. Some think showing errors is a sign of weakness, Sayla said, especially in leadership. Ben sighed, but hiding the truth is worse. The next day, Orcs called for a public debate, an old Velari tradition where sides share their views in front of the people. The council would listen, but it was the citizens who would judge which side made more sense. Sayla prepared for the debate with a calm face, but inside, she was nervous. Ben stayed by her side, helping her with words, tone, and examples. On the day of the debate, the central square was full. Velari citizens stood quietly, their eyes glowing softly in the evening light. The air was still, like it was waiting. Orcs spoke first. We must protect our honor, he said. Yes, we misunderstood a file, but now the whole galaxy may laugh at us because of one joke. Is this the kind of learning we want? One that exposes us? Some nodded. Then it was Sayla's turn. She stepped forward. Leader Orcs speaks of honor, she said. But what is honor if not truth? The crowd listened. We believed a file. We misunderstood. We removed our jackets and robes thinking we were doing what humans do. It wasn't done to insult anyone. We were trying to connect. And when we found the truth, we didn't hide it. We shared it. We made it into something we could laugh at together. She paused and then added, mistakes do not make us weak. Hiding them does. The crowd was silent. Even Calrix didn't speak. Then Ben stepped forward and bowed slightly. If I may speak as a guest. The council allowed it. When I first came here, Ben said, I didn't understand Valari customs. I probably still don't understand most of them. But Sayla helped me. And when we made a mistake together, we fixed it together. He looked. At Calrix, you want respect. But trust me, admitting you were wrong and learning from it, that's something every human respects. For a moment, no one said anything. Then, from the edge of the crowd, someone clapped. Slowly, more hands followed. Soft claps, gentle, respectful. The council didn't remove the guidebook. Instead, they asked for one small change. Add a line saying, this guidebook is a living document, always open to correction. Sayla agreed happily. Later that night, she and Ben sat under the soft light of the learning dome again. You were brave today, Ben said. No, Sayla replied. We were brave. Ben smiled. Think Calrix will ever read the guidebook? Maybe, Sayla said, probably in secret. They both laughed quietly. The misunderstanding that once brought confusion had now built trust stronger than before. 3 weeks after the public debate, the Valari Human Guidebook became a huge success. Both species used it to avoid confusion. And funny parts like the clothing joke helped break the ice in awkward situations. Sayla and Ben were now known as the pair who made cultural learning simple and honest. But then, an unexpected message arrived from Earth. The message was from Ben's old supervisor at the Earth Diplomacy course. They were sending a high-ranking officer named Maya Grant to visit the Valari capital. She was known for her strict rules and cold personality. Ben had worked under her once and remembered how she liked things done by the book, her book. When Ben read the message, he sighed. She's going to hate everything we've done. Sayla looked at him. Why? Because it's too informal, too soft. She believes in strong lines, not gentle understanding. Sayla was quiet for a moment, but our way worked. Ben nodded. It did. But she won't see it that way. The day Officer Grant arrived, the Valari welcomed her with calm grace. She stepped off the ship in a sharp uniform, her face serious and unreadable. Ben stood beside Sayla, feeling tense. Welcome to Valari, Officer Grant, Ben said. Thank you, she replied, scanning the crowd. Her eyes landed on Sayla. You must be the alien responsible for the guidebook. Yes, Sayla said. With a polite bow, I worked with Ben. I'll review the material myself, Grant said, not smiling. I hope it meets the standard. Later, Grant sat in her private room, flipping through the guidebook with sharp eyes. Her expression didn't change, even when she reached the cartoon page. Ben waited, nervous. Finally, she looked up. This is unusual. But it works, Ben said. The Valari trust it. They understand us better now. They understand humor, Grant said flatly. But do they understand rules? Sayla spoke gently. We understand both. This guidebook is not just for laughter. It shows our mistakes and our growth. Grant didn't reply. She stood up. I'll attend your joint meeting tomorrow. I want to see how this understanding works in action. The next day, a new cultural meeting began. Valari and human teams gathered to talk about future programs, trade, and shared missions. Sayla and Ben were asked to open the meeting. Ben stood tall. When we started this work, we were just trying to fix a misunderstanding. But now we help others avoid mistakes before they happen. Sayla added, we don't hide errors. We use them to grow stronger. The room listened quietly. Officer Grant watched from the side, arms crossed. During a discussion break, a young Valari named Rilo dropped a tray of human food samples. He looked embarrassed and began collecting the pieces quickly. Sorry, he said to the human next to him. The human smiled. No problem. Then, Rilo looked at Sayla. Do I take off? Something now. The room went silent. Ben laughed, stepping forward. No. Remember page 3 of the guidebook. Rilo blushed and nodded. Right? Offer help. Don't undress. The room burst into soft laughter. Even Officer Grant smiled just a little. After the event, Grant met with Ben and Sayla privately. Your method is strange, she said, but the result is clear. The Villari trust humans more than before. Ben sighed in relief. So, you don't want to cancel the program? No, Grant said. But I want a formal report added. Something more structured. Sayla smiled. We can do that, as long as we keep the honest heart of the guidebook. Grant gave a slow nod. Deal. Later that evening, Ben and Sayla walked through the garden paths near the learning dome. The sky above was filled with soft lights that moved like stars. I was scared she'd shut everything down, Ben said. Me too, Sayla admitted. But you stayed calm. Like always, Sayla looked at him. You made me brave. I only wanted to learn at first. Now I want to protect what we've built. They sat down on a bench, watching the glowing pond. You know, Ben said, when I first met you, I thought you were just quiet and curious, and I thought you were clumsy and confusing. Sayla replied with a smile. I guess we were both right. They laughed together. Their bond had grown stronger not because of how much they knew, but because they had chosen to face every mistake, every challenge, side by side. A few days after Officer Grant returned to Earth, the Villari city welcomed a small group of visitors from a distant species known as the Dern. They were tall, covered in soft, dark fur, and spoke in deep, slow tones. It was the first time they had ever come to the Villari world. Ben and Sayla were invited to help guide the first meeting between the Villari and the Dern. Everyone believed their guidebook had made the Villari-human connection strong, so maybe it could help with other species too. But no one knew the Dern had their own ideas about what respect looked like. The welcome event was held in the outer dome garden. Beautiful glowing trees surrounded the place, and soft music played in the background. Ben stood next to Sayla as the Dern stepped off their transport ship. Their leader, Urith, gave a slow, formal bow. Sayla bowed politely, just like she had. Ben gave a small wave and a kind smile. Welcome to Villari. Urith didn't smile back. Instead, he raised his arm and made a deep growling sound that was translated as, we expected silence, not music. The music stopped at once. Sayla whispered. They seemed very serious. Ben nodded. Let's be careful. As the event continued, Ben and Sayla tried to follow the Dern's way of speaking, simple, formal, and slow. But a problem happened. When a young Villari child ran up to a Dern and touched the soft fur on its arm, the Dern stepped back quickly. You touched without offering respect, Urith said, his voice rising. The Villari parents apologized right away. They offered food as a gift. But the Dern were still upset. Ben walked over and tried to calm the situation. It was just a child. He said gently. Rath looked at him. In our world, touching without permission is a challenge. Even a child must know this. The tension in the air grew heavy. Sayla stepped forward. Maybe we should all sit and share what each of us believes respect means, so we avoid mistakes. Yura thought for a moment, then gave a slow nod. Agreed. They all gathered inside the learning dome. Sayla and Ben stood at the front, with the Villari Council and the Dern leaders watching closely. We had a misunderstanding once too, Sayla said, looking at the Dern. We believed humans used clothing to show apology. We were wrong, but the humans helped us learn. Ben added. No one laughed. We turned the mistake into a lesson, and now our bond is stronger than before. Urith tilted his head. You admit your own weakness? We admit we're still learning, Sayla replied, and that is not weakness. Urith looked at his people. Perhaps we can do the same. A young Dern stepped forward. I also wish to learn. May I ask the child why they touched me? The Villari child shyly explained. I like your fur. I thought it was soft and beautiful. Urith's eyes softened. In our world, beauty is rarely spoken aloud. But I see no insult here. Slowly, the mood in the room changed. The Dern began asking questions about Villari customs. Ben and Sayla translated when needed, using clear, simple language. By the end of the day, the Dern agreed to take a copy of the guidebook with them. They even asked to write a chapter about Dern customs to be added later. Urith stood before Sayla. And Ben, you turned a moment of anger into peace. Your work has value. Sayla smiled. We only help others see through confusion. You're added. I will invite your kind to our world. Perhaps our next lesson can be there, after. The Dern left, the Villari city returned to calm. The danger of misunderstanding had passed once more. That evening, Ben and Selah sat again by the crystal pond. You were amazing today, Ben said. You helped too. Selah replied, you always speak with heart. You always think before you speak. Ben smiled. That's why we work well together. Selah looked at him for a long moment. When you leave, will you come back? Ben was quiet. I hope so. But I don't know when. Then I will wait, she said simply. Why? Because you help me see more than files and facts. You help me see people. Ben looked at her, surprised. Then he smiled. You help me too. More than you know. The stars above shimmered quietly. Both of them sat without words. Knowing their journey together wasn't just about mistakes or learning customs. It was about something deeper, something real. The sun over Villari's silver domes rose gently, casting warm light through the soft sky. Today was Ben's last day on the planet. His exchange mission had ended, and a transport ship from Earth would arrive soon to take him home. He packed his small bag slowly, placing each item with care. His translator device, a few local souvenirs, and most importantly, the first printed copy of the cultural guidebook, now with added sections for the Dern species. He looked around the quiet guest quarters that had become his home for months. Every corner reminded him of something: his first confused meeting with Selah, the time he slipped on glowing fruit, the long nights writing and laughing together. A soft knock came from the door. Ben opened it and found Selah standing there with her hands behind her back. I thought I'd find you here, she said softly. Ben smiled. Not many places left for me to hide. I brought you something, she said, pulling a small item from behind her. It was a simple bracelet made of Villari crystals, each one with a soft glow. These are called truth stones, Selah explained. We give them to those who helped us understand truth better. Ben took it carefully and looked at the glowing stones. This is beautiful. You deserve it, she said. Because of you, we learn how to laugh at our mistakes, and more importantly, how to fix them. He looked at her gently. You did that too, Selah. We did it together. They sat near the edge of the garden, close to the same glowing pond, where they had talked many times before. So, Selah said, you're going back. Yeah, Ben said quietly. I have to file reports, finish the program. Maybe they'll send me somewhere else after. Will you forget us? Ben looked surprised. No, I'll remember everything, especially you. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Finally, Selah said, I thought I knew everything about humans when you first arrived. I had studied your language, your ways, but I didn't know what a real human was. And what do you think now? He asked. She smiled. A human is someone who says sorry, not just with words, but with heart. Ben laughed. And a Villari is someone who listens, even when the file is wrong. They both smiled. A soft sound in the sky signaled the arrival of Ben's transport ship. The long, sleek craft came down slowly, its light casting a gentle blue glow over the garden. I guess this is it, Ben said, standing up. Selah stood too. Will you come back? If they let me, Ben said. And if you want me to. I do, she said simply. As they walked toward the landing area, a few Villari friends waved and called out warm goodbyes. The council sent a short message of thanks, and a small crowd had gathered to see him off. At the base of the ship, Ben turned to Selah one last time. This time, he said, I want to say goodbye the Villari way. He placed a hand over his heart and bowed his head. Selah mirrored the gesture, her eyes soft. And I want to say goodbye the human way. She offered her hand. Ben smiled and shook it gently. The moment felt strong, simple, but full of meaning. As the ship lifted into the sky, Selah stood alone in the light wind, holding the extra copy of the guidebook in her hands. Weeks passed. Messages came from Ben, sharing updates about Earth. The guidebook was being translated into more languages. Humans were using it to learn not just about Villari, but also about their own misunderstandings with other species. A second edition was in the works. Saela kept working at the Learning Dome, helping new visitors understand Velari customs. Sometimes she would find confused humans and gently explain things, always with a soft smile. One day, as she walked through the dome, she found a new group of students gathered around a small hologram. "Who is that?" one of the students asked. The teacher replied, "That's Ben, the human who helped us understand apology with truth." And next to him, Sayla, the one who showed that even mistakes can lead to friendship. Sayla paused, listening quietly. Later that night, she returned to the crystal pond. She wore the same bracelet she had given to Ben, another one made for herself. The crystals glowed softly in the quiet evening. She looked up at the stars. "Come back soon," she whispered. And in the distance, somewhere between stars and planets, a ship carried a man who was already planning his return, with a better translator, a sharper guidebook, and a heart full of memories. Because the real apology had never been about words or customs. It was about understanding. And they both understood that now.